We are back to do more cooking today, but I first need to just show you what cookie season looks like in my kitchen. Let me turn this around. Is anybody else in the midst of cookie season? Does anyone else like lose their heads and make way more cookies than they should ever make? Because that would be me. So before I turn this around, we are making almond biscotti. This recipe is from a cookbook I have by Victoria Gotti called Hot Italian Dish. And it is like the recipe that everybody wants me to make. And we're making squash and cheese with spaghetti squash, which is my recipe that came out of a place of desperation when I wasn't eating anything that was grain or anything like that, and I just needed mac and cheese so bad. Does anybody else need mac and cheese once in a while? You just like need it. So anyway, I'm gonna make that today and teach you that quick, easy recipe. So let's turn you around. Okay, this is what cookie season looks like in my house. I'm not done, hold on. It gets worse and worse. Look at all that butter still, and I've made so many cookies, right? And now this is set up for our show, but look at this. Absolute insanity. So that is what cookie season is like for me. I have an entire stand-up freezer downstairs that is basically full. Let me turn, oh, it is around. Basically full. So I have about 7 more kinds to make after this one, but I just wanted to show you. So can you see that? So right now, oh, what's happening? There we go. Right now what I have in here is I creamed together the butter and the sugar, and then I added 3 eggs, and I've started to put the zest. So this recipe has zest of lemon and orange, and it's a tablespoon of each, and I already put some in there, so I'm just gonna put the rest. I just wanted you to see how it comes together, because a lot of people are afraid of biscotti. And I don't know, this is the recipe that I first tried, and maybe it's because it's a really great recipe. I had success the first time around. But I don't know. And honestly, I don't really make any other biscotti because this one is so good. Everybody loves it so much, I don't even bother. So I wonder if I tried different recipes, if it wouldn't be as, what do you call it? What's the word? Like it never fails. I don't know. I can't think of anything. No fishing? Well, you could fish. You could fish out some zest out of the bowl if you wanted to. It'd be kind of messy, but crazy Craig. All right, so I'm just going to get the rest of this zest in there, and then we're going to just add in there's only a couple more ingredients, but I really what I want you to see is how the dough looks and feels, so that you get the idea on that. So that's in there. I'm just going to turn that on, get my spatula out of the way. I'm going to put now they say to do this where, you know, you put the baking powder and the flour and all that stuff together. Did I miss something? No. Okay. That is 2 teaspoons of that, and sift it together and then add it. I just put all the little ingredients in first, and then I put the flour. I don't know, maybe some chef is going to be like, no, you can't do that, but that's what I do. Okay, so remember that doing flour, you scoop it into the measuring cup first, and I have this great container, this great Rubbermaid container, that the top scrapes my thing nice and flat. So this is my favorite part. Oh, what keeps happening here? Oh, I'm on the button, that's why. And it keeps trying to shut my phone off. Ah! Shut off here. All right, so this is the best part, when it starts flying out of the bowl. That's why I have flour everywhere. My kitchen at cookie season is a perpetual mess of flour, but I do it slowly like that on the side, because if you put it all in, then it just like puffs right out everywhere even more. So I just take this top and I just scrape it across, and it scrapes it clean every time perfectly. So I don't need to get another, like a knife or anything to scrape it clean. So this is a pretty thick dough. There's only 4 tablespoons of butter and 3 eggs to 3 3/4 of a cup of flour. So that ratio is pretty tight, which is important because you need the dough to be moldable. And I'll show you why in just a second. Okay. And I just keep doing that. You can see, look, see now how it's getting like crumbly? That's okay, that's what we want. I got a little more flour to add. Now it's gonna start spitting at me. Oh, I didn't do this. Okay, one more, 1/4 cup. That's 1/3 of a cup. I don't know where my 1/4 cup is, so we'll just do a little shy there. Oh, I think it's in the dishwasher. Okay, so see how crumbly? Very crumbly. And this is supposed to be a cup of almonds added in. I'm not measuring because this is all I have left, and it's about a cup. So I'm not going to worry about it. And then just mix it in, and then we'll come over. That's good. But it's very dry. You can tell it's very dry. And, you know, it just falls right off. Now, you know, normally with dough, you have to, like, really scrape it off. This just falls right off. Okay. So, get this out of here. And I just have to bang it to get it off the mixer. Let me move you and move me so that you can see. All right. So I've already got my pan. Now I have found I use stones for almost everything, but I have found that I do not like the stoneware for my biscotti. So I have sprayed this with some coconut oil spray, and I'm just gonna scrape this down so I can get it off the sides. I already have a batch in the oven, so by the time we're done, I'll be able to show you the next step. It's just got a few more, about 10 more minutes to go, so that should be about how long it takes us to make the squash. So I just dig in here. I just like to kind of knead it just a smidge, just to get any loose almonds from the bottom. But split this in half. Okay, so I have this in my hand. It is a little sticky, but it's not terrible. I kind of like mush it together, and then I just keep mushing, and it keeps turning more and more into a log. See that? Whoops. That's okay, because it's going to go right back together. And then I put it down once it's too long, and it starts falling apart like that. And I just start swishing. Can you see what I'm doing? Okay. And it's not so sticky, right? Like, it's not like cookie batter that you would be like, oh man, I can't put my hands on that at all. And I just make it into a log. That's it. So, let me get this last half out. This says to do it into 4 parts, but I'm using this really long pan, so I'm just doing 2 long logs. Okay, switch it. Just lost a bunch of it. Let me put it over here. Okay. I got a little too aggressive there. Any other sprays if somebody hates coconut? Yeah, you can use Pam, but the thing with Pam, or maybe an avocado spray would be good, because Pam is actually, I maybe put a little too much in that one, that's okay. It actually leaves a weird coating on your pans. I just have to wash my hands real quick. It leaves a weird coating on your pan after a while, wherever it sprayed and food did not touch it. So if you have any pans that are like sticky in certain parts, it's the pan that's doing that. So I try to stay away from that if I can. But the, whatchamacallit, the avocado spray would probably be good. Yeah. Okay, so then I have a whipped egg, and I'm just going to come through, and I'm just going to brush the top. It gives it a really nice glaze. You don't want to get too much along the pan itself if you can avoid it, because then it like cooks to the pan. I mean, it comes off, but it's just stickier. So I have found I don't like it with parchment underneath, and I don't like it on stone. This particular recipe, I do all of my cookies on stone except for this recipe. This one I always do on metal. It's just better that way. Yes, I wiped the pan, but that's because I dropped a bunch of eggs. Okay, so I'm just going to throw this in the bottom oven, except for I have to move you because I have some already cooking. All right. So I'm going to put a timer on for that for 50 minutes. Okay, so that goes for 50 minutes. And then we'll start on this other one. And I'll show you, whoo, hello. I'll show you what comes next on those once we're done with this. Okay, spaghetti squash. So this is what I do. You can't even see me. Hold on. Let's see, how can we see both? Can you see me and the food? Not really, huh? Maybe if I bring this down just a little. And then I do this. Sorry for the video being all wacky doodle. Okay, so spaghetti squash. All I do, a lot of people will take and really like hack at a spaghetti squash, and it's really hard to cut. And so I don't do that. I just poke it all over. I don't know if you can see that there's poke holes all over. I put it in the oven on a little pan because it will leak a little bit, and bake it for about an hour. That's it. So that's what we have here. I cooked it this morning. This is still warm, but it's not hot. And when I cut it slightly angled because your head is cut off a bit still. Okay, let's see. Hopefully that's better. Okay, so I cut it slightly at an angle so I missed the stem. So I'm just going to cut this way. Okay. Now when I cut it, it sort of, squishes down the actual strings a little bit. So you just pull them back, that's all. Just pull them back. And so in here is this pulp that when you do it the other way, where you cut it in half and scrape it out, it's like really a lot of work to cut out. I just take my knife and I just sort of go around like that, just to kind of separate it a little. And then I scrape it out into a garbage or a garbage bowl or whatever it is you have. You will lose a few strings. It's just the way it goes. It's okay. Come on. There we go. So that's all out quick. I wasn't scraping and scraping and scraping and scraping, right? So let me just do this. And this is a great low carb way to have some mac and cheese when you just need a little comfort food. Because we're also not going to make a roux, which you will often make when you're making mac and cheese, which is the flour, butter, and milk. We're not going to do that this time. This can't be any easier. So let me get rid of this so that I can show you, you can see the rest here while we do it, because the rest is off on the side here. Okay, so I take a 13 by 9. Again, this is going to depend on the size of your squash. So, you know, if you have a smaller squash or a bigger squash, you'll just decide based on that. So I don't really have a recipe per se as far as the amounts, because your squash is always a different size. But as you can see, if you've never used spaghetti squash before, it comes out like spaghetti. That's why it's called spaghetti squash. I do not like squash in general, but spaghetti squash is so mild to me, and it really works well. So, interestingly enough, this one smells a little bit stronger for some reason. I don't know if it's because it's organic, but that could be. So anyway, scrape that out, and it comes out pretty clean. I just don't like to waste, so when I see one, I go back in. Take the next one, pull it all out. It can tend to be a little bit stuck around the stem. That's okay. Just keep working at it. You'll get most of it out of there. But don't get the stem in there. So it just falls right out, really, once you cook it that way. It's so much easier to cook it whole, in my opinion. And I just throw it in the oven. Some people microwave it, but I don't really like to cook my food in the microwave. A quick reheat or a quick melt of something, maybe. But cooking my food, not a big fan. Almost there. Okay. This little bit that ripped a little bit on the side is giving me a little trouble. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So that's all done. Now, what do? I squish this around. Squish. Yeah, see, this pan is a little bit big for this size squash, but this is the pan I have, so we're going to do it anyway. It'll be fine. You make do. Okay, so make a flat thing. Okay, so this is important. This is going to seem like an excessive amount of salt. I am using mineral salts, so that also has a little bit less saltiness to it. I'm not exactly sure why. It doesn't taste that salty flavor. But also, in order to avoid the flour and the milk, we're going to use heavy cream. Heavy cream does not digest in your body the same way that milk and flour do. It is a much better low-carb choice. So we don't need the flour, we don't need the butter, we don't need the milk, we have the heavy cream. As this cooks, it thickens. But heavy cream sort of neutralizes that salty flavor. So we need to overcompensate a little bit in order to have that little bite that salt gives. So it might seem like I'm being excessive here, but trust me, this is something you're not going to want to skip because you will lose out on lots of flavor. I don't know what it is about heavy cream. One of these days I should research that and find out, but there's something about it that is very neutralizing. So salt, pepper, right onto the squash, onion powder and garlic powder. Okay. This is so yum. You're going to be like, I need to eat this daily. So this is one of my favorite accidental creations. And I don't do a lot of things outside of recipes, to be honest. I use a lot of recipes. So I like to use the Mexican style blend because it has a mixture of cheeses. And it's very simple. I'm just going to put a bunch of it on. Well, maybe not all of that, but because my squash is a little small. Ooh, well, we're going to put all of that because it all fell off. So that's fine. So we put this on. We just spread it out. I didn't do anything to mix it in, nothing. I just spread it out. And then we go in with some more excessive seeming salt on the top. You want to season the top too because that crispy, crunchy cheese with the seasoning is, oh my gosh, so amazing. Okay, salt, pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder. Okay. So here is where I'm going to bring you closer because I want you to see, and this will be perfect timing because then the biscotti is going to come out. Okay, so this is the tricky part that I have, the part I have trouble explaining to people. Let me bring you lower maybe because I can't seem to get you. Can you see that? Let me move it this way. Nope, that seemed to make it worse, didn't it? Okay, so I don't know how to do this in a way that's going to make it so that you can see it better. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is where things get a little bit strange, like I said, as far as recipe goes. So I open my heavy cream, and there's no real measurement here. I go like this, and I pour it over the top, and what I'm looking for is I'm going to start to see the cream come up. And I'm going to start seeing it be full enough that I see it along the sides here. And I know that might sound like a very weird description and not very helpful, but it really does. Hopefully you'll be able to see it when I see it. I'm not going to need all of this because this is a smaller amount. But I should start to see cream working its way up here in a second. You don't want to put too much because then, where's my cream? Usually I see it by now. I promise this is the way. Oh, here we go. I can see it starting to come up over here. Okay, so I'm going to stop. So the only thing I do next, too much cream and it won't thicken properly and stick to the squash is what I was going to say. And I just kind of just shush it a little. That's it. And then I throw it in the oven and we're good to go. And we have squash and cheese. I bake it until it's hot and bubbly, and the cream, you kind of can see that the cream has thickened some. This is interesting because it seems like all the cream stayed on this side. I don't know why that is. Okay, that has never happened to me before. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen live, baby. That's the way it goes. Okay, so then I'm just going to throw this in the oven. So let me bring you back. Hopefully you could see that, but you could start to see the cream. That's the point. When the cream starts showing itself, then you're good to go. Now, this biscotti is ready for the next step. It's about to come out, so let me get my thingies on here. Oh, I need a knife. Let me grab that. So biscotti is baked twice. That's what makes it like crunchy. And this recipe is really nice because it's crunchy but still chewy, if that makes any sense. Okay, so you can see it came out this nice beautiful log. It's spread out quite a bit from what I put it in there. Oh, I'm gonna hit the light. Let me move you over a smidge. Okay, there we go. Beautiful. Okay, So here's what you need to do next. And you got to do this while it's warm. You don't want to skip this part. Cannot get my phone positioned just right for you guys to see. That's better. Okay. So I take a knife and you just slice it and then kind of just shush it away so it's not stuck to the pan. And you can slice it as fat or as thin as you want. Okay, slice. This came out really nice. It's got a nice soft. So once you're done cutting it, we spread it out on the pan so that no pieces are touching the other. And then you just bake it for another 20 minutes, and that's it. I mean, you know, biscotti just has this like mystique about it that everyone's like, oh, I could never. You can. You can. It's not that hard. We made logs. Whoops, I flipped that one accidentally. We made logs. We baked them. We cut them. We baked them. Done. So, I'm just going to do this one pan. I'm not going to make you watch all of the biscotti getting cut, just so you can get the idea. Come on. That one I cut a little fat. Okay. One more cut. Ooh, it's hot. Okay, so now we're cut, and we're just going to spread it out. So I kind of do like an every other and move it over like this. Ooh, that is hot. Come on, that one's stuck. There we go. And this one starts to get in the way. And sometimes I'll like take them and turn them. Okay. But you get the point. So you just move them around, get them away from each other. Sometimes you got to do stuff like this to just get them separated. Okay. Get this one over here. Woo! Hot, hot, hot. Okay. There we go. So now they're as separated as I can get them on this pan. And I just put them back in the oven. That's it. 20 more minutes. Good to go. Now we have biscotti done. Cool. Make it cool. Make sure it's cool completely. And voila. So I'll just put the timer on for 20 more minutes. You won't be able to see the squash and cheese, but I will take a picture for you. And the finished product of the biscotti. But I don't want to keep you all day. I know it's a busy time of year. Hopefully you test yourself a little bit and try something new and fun. This squash and cheese is amazing. You can also do something similar on cauliflower and even cauliflower and broccoli combined if that's something you wanted to try as well. So if you missed it, go back and see how we made it. But this is really not too bad. And you helped me get another batch of cookies done, so thanks. I got only about 7 more to go. So thanks, guys. Enjoy your season. Oh, as for next week, we're not going to have a show on Christmas Day. I think we're going to come back on Wednesday at 9 o'clock, and we're going to do our show on Wednesday. So that way Christmas and Christmas Eve are done. We don't have a cooking show. So come back Wednesday next week, and we'll do our cooking show that day. So we'll see you then, and have a great weekend. Bye.